Welcome to the championship final edition of USL All Access. Not that it's happened, but it's going to happen. We've got the conference finals to talk about. Rob Salvatore from Charleston, the owner of the Battery, set to join us later in the show to preview what's going on in Low Country. We'll chat with Panos Armenakas, the midseason signing, and arguably, to some, to one, the best player in the USL Championship, at least the most talented. League One final is over. Devon and I give a very brief thought about many things, including a new media deal for USL. The all-league teams are out, and Devon loves those. Also, new coaches to chat about, including an announcement earlier today in St. Pete. Dev, you are are you already in Charleston at this particular juncture?
Mentally, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was born, bred, and raised there outside of Omaha, Nebraska. It's my second home that I've actually never been to. Who knew?
If you're watching on YouTube on Friday, it's clear he's not there yet. This being recorded on Wednesday. A lot to cover. Dev, for one, before we get to the championship final, which is Sunday night, quote-unquote promotion for North Carolina FC.
No.
They win the League One final. Mike Jeffrey's boys fall in extra time. Crazy, crazy game. Hector Acosta scored in the 99th minute. Austin Pack, unfortunate own goal with just 9 minutes remaining. 46 shots in the game, and North Carolina, Railhawk FC, all that good stuff, wins in pens 5-4. Dev, we're going back to Kerry, baby.
Dude, you're roasting the Railhawks. You're throwing Panos under the bus. I mean, you are ripping and roaring today.
No, I've got no beef with Panos, and I am excited to go back to Kerry.
No beef with anybody whatsoever? We'll get there. We have beef. We'll get there. Pinky up. I got beef with that.
Okay.
I'm excited to go back to Kerry, too. I think we can both agree that it's an incredible venue.
Yeah.
It's a team that had a nice little stint here. Certainly, we enjoyed our time with Dave Sarachan, and we hated it when they departed. But they did their business. That's great. It's not promotion. That's fine. It's not relegation for anybody else either. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm neither here nor there. I'm everywhere because I'm not in Charleston and I'm not at home. I'm in limbo, as is NCFC right now.
No, they're full now in the championship.
No, they're not, because they'd be playing in the playoffs. Don't do that. Don't ruin my moment. Don't ruin my moment. Don't bring the Railhawks and Martin Rennie back into this conversation.
Can we just do one show?
I miss Martin Rennie, man. I hope he's doing well.
I hope so too.
Let's go.
He's probably selling software somewhere in Scotland, and I'm kind of here for that.
He's listening to this going, listen to those idiots again. How did they get back on that channel?
And I enjoyed working with him. He actually came and did a couple games with us.
Yeah,
over the years. Yeah,
great guy.
Dev, all league is out. I assume.
No. I'm punting. No, I refuse to talk about it. I was distraught after seeing what the USLPA put out. Nicholas Murray, you know what? This is the best thing, because he just
tabulates the votes.
Oh, he's involved with the process. That's the most important thing. We are not, because we still don't have a vote. Whether or not it's been offered and we vetoed it is a different conversation. The most important thing is that we're going to get an opportunity to break bread this weekend, or a libation or two. And then after that conversation, and I can suppress some of my feelings about what was put out on social media, then we will talk about it. So next week, you can have it next week.
Like a good Irish Catholic, I certainly know how to suppress. Anywho, Dev, let's chat about new coaches, because one new sheriff is the old sheriff, one new guy altogether. Robbie Nielsen, it was announced this morning, appreciation to Jake at Tampa for sending us a pre-release so we could chat about it. Nicky Law will be the lead assistant. Robbie Nielsen enters. Just spent the last 3 years at Hearts of Midlothian over in Scotland. That's his native country. Yes, they got another Scotsman. 43 years old, couple of years older than Neil Collins, obviously, who departed mid-season. You know, you read through the quotes of the press release, he's saying all the right things. He's not guaranteeing anything, but he's won where he's been around Europa League time and time again in his career, spent time in England as well in League One, much like Neil Collins is right now. I hope they have the right guy. I don't nearly watch enough Scottish Premiership to know.
100%. Here's what you need to know about Scottish Premiership and Robbie Nielsen. One, the guy had an incredible engine when he played. Just worked the hell out of anyone that was next to him on the field. That sounds a bit familiar when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rowdies and the style. And he talks about that. He says, listen, like, you're going to get work ethic. You're going to get work rate. If you can mirror that, that's awesome. We always question as to whether or not Nicky Law wanted to be the guy. And that wasn't a knock on Nicky. It was the same thing for, Jesus, help me. Assistant. What's wrong with me?
Stu?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. My brain is, it's finals weekend, man. We're not doing okay. We question whether or not he wanted the job, and he was very adamant that he didn't want to be a head coach. So maybe Nicky Law didn't want to be a head coach, or maybe he just didn't want to be one right now. But I will give credit to the front office, because when Neil Collins departed back in what seems like an eternity ago, God, that was so short, yet that feels like a decade, right?
I know.
They were very clear about the fact that they were not going to rush judgment on bringing someone in, that they were going to vet and find the person that they feel would best encapsulate their culture. Very difficult to argue with the choice at this point in time. To your point, we don't know what it's going to look like in the championship, but a lot of similarities to a predecessor. So,
right. Rubber will meet the road on that next year. What we do know, however, is that in Orange County, Morten Carlson has signed a new contract. They brought him in at the beginning of the year. He was supposed to be the number 2 to Richard Chaplow. Chappie got let go about 10 games into the season. And then Orange County had a rocket strapped to their back the rest of the way. I will say this. It's different than when Richard took over. And I'm going to tell you why. When Richard Chaplow took over, they were, by his own admission, duct taping results together in a way that was not how he eventually wanted to play. Conversely, you could say they also sold a lot off that team and had to start over the same way Milan Lasky is about to depart to go to Denmark, and you're going to have to figure out your attack again. But at least you know what Morten wanted to do. And he found a way to execute that vision in a way that put them in a Western Conference semifinal. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I would agree and disagree. I don't think you're wrong with all of that. I would say that they knew what Richard wanted to do. Just not necessarily sure they thought maybe that, I don't want to say that he wasn't going to come along for the ride. That's not fair to Richard Chaplow, but in our conversations with him, and to your point of the results in 21 on the way to the title, yes, they were piecing it together. That wasn't the way that he wanted to play. I find it very difficult to think that they didn't have conversations behind the scenes about how he wanted to play and players that he wanted to bring in. At what point in time, we don't know that. So to your point, sure, we know the structure. We've talked about it all season long since Carlson has taken over. What is it going to look like with the departure of Milan Lasky? Dylan Powers, is he going to stay? Brian Lasky, his brother, is he going to stay? I mean, there are a lot of guys there that, and I'm just naming a couple, right, that you think could be there for sure. Right? Like Owen Lamb's another one. What ends up happening to him? Among up front, like Kyle Scott in the midfield. These are all guys that could be there next year. They could also be on another team. They could be out of the championship.
Right.
So it's very, very easy for us to sit here and say, this is the way he wants to play. He's got the players to do it. The club knows how he wants to play. Let's be really, really clear. All due respect to Orange County, the club's going to do what they want to do.
Yep.
What's best for them. So that's all.
Yep. Dev, here's the other thing that we wanted to chat about before we got going, because you and I have been blown up on Twitter about this for a few days now.
Mayonnaise?
The USL has signed a 4-year deal with CBS, 25 national TV appearances, the final, and at least one regular season game that we know of right now will be on CBS broadcast network. Cleveland Channel 4, New York Channel 2, the honest to God CBS, the eye.
Big CBS.
We hope we get Blazers out of this deal. 75 appearances on Golazo Network, which is the free network that they launched with their app. So it's part of Box to Box, Morning Footy, so on and so forth. The local TV broadcast that you know for non-national TV should largely remain unchanged based on everything that we know. There's going to be another media partner that's going to be announced. And Sports Business Journal, who I don't know who their sources are, has suggested it's a renewal with ESPN. That's where we're at right now. The SPJ articles suggest there's a pretty substantial change in the amount of money that's involved, but there's also now the expectation to produce more games on national TV, including games on CBS, which will likely be a little more substantial. So there's a lot of different ins and outs to this widget, but what I do know is it's a major step. I was here when we did our first game on ESPN 3. That was a championship final in Rochester with Galaxy 2. I've been here literally since the USL first put its tentacles on national TV. This is huge, game-changing.
It's massive for the USL Championship. It's massive for the American soccer period. League One, USL 2. Super, like, there are so many different entities involved in the USL brand that are going to benefit from this. The academy kids as well. I'm with you. Now, I'm 3 years behind you. And let's be clear, I'm the first one to moan and complain about stuff. You know that. But you are going to get the most coverage you've ever gotten in USL Championship history at the highest level on the biggest channels. I know people are going to be frustrated by, oh, well, maybe I have to go to this one or go to that one. Like, let's be clear. There is another partner coming. That's very, very clear. USL even stated in their release, more news to come. Anyone who's got half a brain is going to go, yeah, they're not going to take 100 games and only show that and then forget about the 300 plus. And I'm just talking USL Championship games.
Right.
As mentioned, the other entities involved are going to be covered as well. The numbers are going to be, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm doing the math here. Historically, we've done anywhere from like 8 to 12 nationally televised games.
Give or take.
No more than 12. No more. Right? You're going to triple that, most likely. You're going to triple that. I don't care who you are, what you're doing, where you are. You are going to triple the amount of eyeballs on national television. You are going to get more money for the league, for the teams, for the players, the exposure. Everybody is going to see this league more. I'm sorry if in certain areas you have decided to go off the grid and get rid of cable. Totally get it. That's fine. You can do that. No one's saying that you're not going to be able to watch these games. Just everybody, please do me one favor. Just take a breath, because you have 25% of the overall equation that is going to affect 100% of everyone. In this day and age, just breathe. Take a deep breath, and I promise you, what is coming is going to be even better than before and what you expected. It is great for everyone involved.
I have seen this with NWSL on CBSSN, and you're not happy that the games aren't on Paramount Plus. The deal doesn't work without all the legs on the chair standing. For CBS, or let's call it ESPN, same with E2, those games you needed a cable subscription, and that'll be the case this coming weekend. I get that that's not convenient. I get that. Conversely, that's the way TV's been done in this country.
Every sport in this country does it that way. Like, we're not, let's relax, okay? We don't need to be spoon-fed. Everybody, if it's NFL, if it's basketball, if it's baseball, if it's hockey, if it's MLS, everyone does it this way. Yep. I get it. I would love to turn my television on, pay a flat rate, and have everything there. Guess what? The Premier League doesn't do it that way either. We're going to be taken care of. Just take a deep breath and let it happen.
Dev, is this your last final?
I mean, I'm in negotiations.
How do you describe those negotiations?
I don't know. I thought they started really well. I'm a little bit frustrated right now because there's certain things that haven't been met on my end. You?
Yeah, things are getting a little bit tense. What's your biggest holdup right now?
You know, probably the flavor of gummy that they put in the booth. I don't ask for much, and so if I want $5 worth of green gummy bears, what's the problem? They don't want to cross the picket line for that. So if that's going to be the line in the sand that we're going to draw and my tenure here is over, then that's what it's going to be. How about you?
So, you know, with this new deal, the big thing to me, like we've seen the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I'm actually, as you know, anti-mayonnaise.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to make an exception, but only for Hellman's.
Well,
I
I'm a
want
big
them to be
Helmets
the
fan.
title sponsor of the championship on CBS next year, and I'll accept nothing less.
If they make Hellman's the title sponsor, I'll just eat Hellman's, and you can have the green gummies.
Yeah, I'll have the cabbage from the coleslaw, but once you put the Hellman's in it, I still won't touch
so I'm
it.
just eating the mayonnaise, and you're eating cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting car ride home from the stadium.
No kidding. All right, when we come back, Rob Salvatore is the owner of the Battery. He's going to join us, chat about everything that's going on there and what an incredible job they've done with Lee and Ben and the players. We also have Panos Armenakas joining us later in the show from Phoenix, chat about what's going on out in the desert. And we'll chat a little bit about the games that were last week, the games that are to come. It's coming up on USL All Access. And now joined by the Charleston Battery owner, chairman, Rob Salvatore. Took over in 2019. And take a look at where the Battery are now, prepared to host the final on Sunday night. Rob, appreciate you making time for us. And, boy, what a story your club has been this year. I imagine it's been a wild ride.
It's been a wild ride. I like that intro. I like how it sounds. Yeah, labor of love and a lot of hard work, good people, and things broke the right way, and we get to do it at home on Sunday night. So beyond fired up.
You took over ahead of what inadvertently ended up being some pretty tumultuous times. I don't think anyone could have predicted that you'd take over and 5 months later that the world would basically grind to a halt with the COVID pandemic. You move games to Patriots Point and away from MUSC. Mike Anhauser goes. You missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. Try and describe how satisfying it is to set the structure for something that, one, looks really sustainable. It looks like you've got guys in command of this that can do this year after year and have a belief in that, but also on the precipice of a title in year 3, year 4 of your work with the club.
So that sustainability comment really resonates with me. So, we knew taking over, it wasn't all going to happen at the same time, and it wouldn't be linear. You'd kind of go on this circuitous journey, 2020 being what it was for everybody. But I think the satisfaction comes with having a vision for what we could do out there at Patriots and starting to build an identity for the club and a brand, engage the community, and then having some fits and starts and some failures, and locking in on eventually Lee and Ben. I knew what we had in those guys, and I think we learned a lot. And to see it come together the way it has this year, with a really enjoyable team, a team that the community has really rallied around, a team that's won in dramatic fashion, and then has been able to do this playoff run at home. It is really, really satisfying. You watch a group of people put thousands of hours of work in a year over multiple years, and then it just kind of explodes with this celebration at these home playoff matches. So the culmination is Sunday night, and I've tried to step back and be a fan as much as I can this last month, and just enjoy all the hard work and a lot of commitment that we've put in as a group. So I think satisfied is really the right word. I use the marathon analogy of, you run the race, you're going to finish, you're going to have a good time, and you're kind of at the end. I think that's what the runner's high is knowing that you've grinded for however many months, and now you feel like you're running downhill. And I didn't know exactly how the playoffs would unfold. Would we advance? Would it be at home? But I do feel like you can see the tape, and you're just kind of gliding in, and there's just that overwhelming sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. We're talking to Rob Salvatore, owner for the Charleston Battery. His side plays 7:00 Sunday night, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and you'll hear it right here on the channel, SiriusXM FC. They take on Phoenix in the championship final. This ends up being the biggest turnaround by points in league history, and you go from the bottom to a 3 seed, ultimately do get those home games. When you arrived, there were a lot of things you did right off the bat that really did work, making Friday nights a thing in Charleston, moving to Patriots Point and renovating that venue and getting the city behind you, immense immense excitement about this final and showed in the ticket sales. But you also took a big swing on an unproven commodity as the coach, and Connor Casey lasted 1 year. When you locked in on Lee and Ben, because you mentioned them earlier in that last answer, what lessons did you learn that led you to them specifically? And in your mind, watching them develop this team over the course of the year, I imagine that's been pretty impressive to see from the Catbird seat.
Yeah. With respect to last year, I sat down with you guys, I think the winter meetings almost 2 years ago now. I talked about innovation. We tried to go, maybe a little off script, but I think we also allowed ourselves to fail fast and learn from it. Last year was very introspective. So when we admitted kind of where we were as an organization, having somebody with Lee's pedigree was really important, but also Lee's disposition. I think that the two things about Lee and Ben combined is they are very much of the builder mindset. They want to make the thing that they're in great. They're not worried about what's next. They're worried about this. Ben preaches it. Let's get better every day. Let's get better every day. Lee is extremely entrepreneurial. So I've been involved in entrepreneurial pursuits for the last 20 years. Entrepreneurs want to do what they're doing. They're not trying to get to the next job. They want to make that thing, that vision, that company, that space they're in great. That is what Lee really excels at. And then the other thing is with both of them, they have extreme command of the USL ecosystem. So they understand the rigors of the season, the venues that you're going to play in, the challenges, the players. They really have a sense for who the players are and relative value. So when you put those two things together, and that's really kind of what we were targeting. We wanted that USL experience. We saw what we didn't have in 2022, and that was one of the glaring things. So when you put together that kind of disposition of let's make the Charleston Battery the best franchise, and then you throw their enormous skill set and knowledge of USL together, again, I don't think we were saying, okay, let's go win a championship this year. We're saying, let's get relevant, let's get appreciably better and see where it goes and then continue to build on it. And I've really been impressed by both of them. They have tremendous work ethics. They're really good people. They're great managers. They're great communicators. And it is no surprise to me being around them every day that they are as successful as they are.
Rob, I want to bring everything together and kind of get an idea of the journey, but I'll go big picture and then bring it all to one question. So you went from Mike Anhauser to Connor Casey. You talked about what that lesson was like. Connor Casey and I were in the Ben Pierman era. You've also turned over from last year to this year 71% of your roster in the process. You've gone to a new stadium. You guys are kind of hitting the reset button in a lot of different areas. So with your ownership group, HCFC, I'm curious for you all, and maybe this is just a question for you, but what's been the most challenging thing? Because you could look at one of those and go, wow, that was really, really difficult, but you had to deal with a multitude. What was the most difficult?
Yeah, I understand where the question's coming from. I think we were comfortable with the notion that it was going to have to be pretty iterative, that you're not just going to come in and just kind of sweepingly change it all and get it all right. Again, that's probably from the experience of having built things, failed, wrecked things, broken them, build them back up, right? You can't take all the legs of the stool out at the same time, whatever kind of business cliche you want to use. I think what's been the hardest, maybe the two hardest things is, and my brother says this all the time, is the teams in this league are good. The organizations have gotten a lot better, even in the 5 or 6 years that I've kind of been around it, 4 as an owner and 1 kind of really, really auditing the class. There's competency. People are trying hard. They're spending money. They're upgrading. And so in that sense, it's hard to win. It's hard to distinguish yourself. If you really don't have an identity in our something that's really aspirational. The other side of it is, and this is why this year is so important, is Charleston's an awesome market, but it's a somewhat distracted market because there's a lot going on. It's probably got a lot of the same characteristics of some of the other coastal cities, whether in Southern California or Florida. So getting people's attention and saying, hey, this is an awesome thing, come participate with us in it, has been hard. And then when you kind of suck on top of it, like I think we're really good I built a content business. So I think we're really good, and I have wonderful people on staff with me who are creating content on social media. But like when you're not winning, you don't really have a lot of narrative there, right? So you're trying to go to market with a great story, but you might not have one. So all it means is it's just going to take time, and there's a little bit of like this dislocation in how the organization moves forward. Like maybe you got the brand going great, or maybe the venue's going, but then the teams think. And I think what we're seeing now is they've all kind of caught up to a point where they're kind of humming together. And I always talk about the different facets of this business. There's the soccer side, sporting side, there's the business side, there's community. And when you start to get those things working together, it is a flywheel. So I think that answers your question, saying we're comfortable with the fact that this is not easy. I think the aspects of it that were not easy were unique, but you also have to continually iterate and innovate. If you don't, you're going to get caught. So we were trying to catch Louisville, right? From 2019, my first game ever, Slugger Field. By the way, I brought my bat. You had your bat on the last talk. I got this when I went to Slugger Field, first USL Championship game I went to. They played Pittsburgh, April of 2019. I talked to John about it, John East, about it when he was at the game. For 4 years, I feel like I've been trying to catch them or trying to catch Tampa. Well, you know what's going to happen now. They're circling the wagons. They're coming for us. So you have to keep moving. And that goes to the league and the entire ecosystem overall. It's like we all have to continue to get better. But that then gets back to my main point here, which is it's hard to compete in this league. There are good ownership groups. There are well-financed, well-resourced, competent groups. So getting to the top is hard, and staying there, I assume, is even harder. But that's what makes it so fun.
All right, one fun one before we get you out of here. Are you superstitious, first off? And if so,
yeah,
where are we watching? In the stadium? How many people have to get tousled with the bat on the way in? Are we getting a pretzel from that magical culinary area down behind the goal? Like, what are we going through on game day the night before? Yeah. How do we handle this championship process?
I'm not really superstitious. I had a playoff beard and I shaved it, and I got a lot of crap from my friends for it. But because they're like, that lasted like 10 days. I'm like, yeah, too. No, I'm really not. And I'm not, and I kind of grew up in and around hockey, which is, really superstitious. I think if there's anything that I've tried to kind of prescribe through this process, it's the people who've been with us in our little owner area that we built there, the little container that we put in where the players come out. There's been a group of people locally who have really gotten on the journey with us this year. They're big soccer fans. They played collegiately. They follow teams internationally, and they've really been our family here locally for Steph and I. And having them around, like within touching distance, has probably been the thing where it's like, I need them. Like, is everybody coming? And then winning and being with them has made it really, really special. So I think that's probably kept me on a pretty even keel. And again, I have so much confidence in Lee running the team, and I know Ben's got the guys ready, that to a certain degree, I've been able to sit back and really enjoy it. And that's how we drew it up, is I like to architect it with him, but on game day, I've been able to just really immerse myself in the experience, which has been awesome. I think I pulled a hamstring jumping with the bar last game, but it's probably it's a good injury to have at this point.
We've seen someone pull a hamstring at a conference final. It didn't go so hot, but luckily you're not playing. Rob, congratulations on all the success. We can't wait to get down to Low Country and see this thing in person. It's going to be a heck of an event. Thank you, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for everything you do. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of days.
That is Rob Salvatore here on SiriusXM FC. Missed any part of it? Catch on the SiriusXM app or tomorrow on the USL Championship YouTube channel. Back in a moment with Jose Hernandez from Phoenix. We'll look back at the Western Conference Final. Joining us now, one of the most talented players by his own admission and a lot of analysts' admission too, Panos Armenakas, joining us here on All Access ahead of the final on Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and right here on SiriusXM FC. Panos, appreciate the time. Congratulations on reaching the final. Very excited to see you in the spotlight, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Really excited for this weekend, and yeah, it should be a good game.
Panos, I remember when you first came to the league, and I'm looking at the list of clubs that you played for, big clubs. I imagine your passport is thick at this point. Try and walk me through what about the championship made this an enviable landing place for you when you initially arrived.
To be honest, I didn't really know much about the championship itself. I had some offers from different teams in the league a few years back, and kind of wanted to stay in Europe and see how that was going, and from some different teams out west as well, even previously. And then I just thought it was the right time to go explore. I saw that the quality had risen, and the league had expanded a lot more, and doing some research. And then, yeah, initially went to Loudon, kind of on the pretense that, DC United was the opportunity kind of there, and thought I started well there. DC United didn't really get given that opportunity, and in the middle of the night, I got a call halfway through the season saying I've been traded, which was a bit crazy because in Europe, when you sign for a team, you usually speak to them before and organize contract details and everything. And I get called in the middle of the night, hey, pick up your stuff and you need to go meet the team in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I was on a flight that day, and my girlfriend next to me is like, what's happening? I said, yeah, I've changed teams apparently, and she's in bed at 1 a.m. So it was a crazy experience, but yeah, I think I'm at the best club in the league, and I'm so happy to be here right now.
I spoke to Juan Guerra shortly after that deal was done, and he said you met the team in Pittsburgh and you were already joking with teammates on the bus and really integrated very quickly to the group. Try and describe, Loudon, got off to a decent start as a group, made a nice chip away at the Open Cup, but ultimately this Phoenix team had title aspirations, and you were brought in to be additive to that point. So try and describe, you sort of get taken from Loudon, a sort of perennial cellar-dwelling team, and get dropped into a team with championship aspirations right now. I imagine that's quite the thrill.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everyone at this level, we're all competitive. We all want to win. And, at Loudon, you probably have different ambitions and aspirations. Individually, they didn't change for me. But as a team and as a club, I'm sure the club's ambitions may be a bit different, knowing Loudon hadn't made the playoffs at all or anything like that. And now with Phoenix, every game is important, and every season you go in to win the league. And it was a little bit different. Initially, I didn't know, because I hadn't spoken to anyone when I first signed. I didn't know what I was coming in here for. I didn't know if I was going to be a rotation player. I didn't know if I was, coming from Loudon, the team, we weren't doing so well. I didn't know if I'm just here to make up the numbers and stuff, and hadn't spoken to anyone from the club and to be a part of a team to make this type of run. And when I saw the quality, my first training session and stuff, and saw how the team played, and sat down with the coaching staff and what they wanted from me. And yeah, ever since then, I've been a pretty important part of the team, and yeah, so happy to be here. But yeah, the team, the level, the quality, and you have to be on it every day because we have such good players, and if you're not going to step up, someone else is.
Panos, you talked about with Mike kind of your travels, right, and being different places. I myself, I bounced around, not in a bad way, from team to team, trying to find my path and find my way, right? And whether you were in Italy or England or Belgium, right, like you've gotten the opportunity to experience some really big clubs, but I'm sure some very different visions as well. So when you come to Phoenix, what's it like as a player? Maybe you can explain it to everybody else, that trying to continue to evolve and get better as a player while also adjusting to the new league, adjusting to a new country, a new coaching style that you were just being implemented into in one area 6 months ago, and all of a sudden it's changed again.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. When you go into these new countries and these new teams, you have to try your best to immerse yourself in the culture and in the team identity. And I try to do that the best way possible, but it takes time. Going to Belgium and stuff, I know 4 or 5 languages now because of all these experiences, and trying to adapt and stuff like that. And even here in the US, it's pretty difficult when you come from a country in Europe where most of the time your away trips are on buses and stuff because everything is so close, unless you're in Europe and playing Champions League or Europa League. And here now, every away game, even on the West Coast, the closest away game, we're taking flights. So, waking up early morning and playing on different surfaces and different environments. I was coming from the East Coast. The weather was crazy when I first landed in Phoenix in June. It was like 110, 120 degrees, and very different playing style as well, and trying to adapt to teammates. That's why I tried to, speak to as many people as possible off the field to try and understand movements and stuff. And I think it's been shown with other attacking players like Trejo and stuff I built a good relationship with. And but it's definitely not easy. And then when you try to adapt to a different culture in the US, with Loudon initially, and then you get traded mid-season, and playing style is completely different. The way I'm being used here at Phoenix is completely different to how I've been used in Loudon, and trying to understand teammates and what they need from me and what the coaching staff expects from me. And it's not easy, but I want to win, and I'm coming to a team that wants to win and believes we can win. And I think that's all we need. I think I hear a lot of people now on social media, you kind of can't avoid it. Everyone can see it. And I don't think anyone would have picked us to be in the spot we're in right now, but we believed it. From the first time I got here, having played all the East Coast teams and the West Coast teams, we believed it. And we got one more game to go to shut everyone up.
Panos, let's talk about that game. You talk about the different styles. Obviously, it's what you experienced in Loudon, and now how that can play out for you on the field in Phoenix. I could bore people at nauseum, and you and I go back and forth having fun with just breaking your squad down. But you have been in the Eastern Conference. You did know a little bit about the Charleston Battery. Phoenix, the team itself, played them first game of the year. Tell me what scares you about them, or what are you most interested in about their playing style? Where do you feel like you can take advantage of them? Stuff like that.
Personally, I've never played them. I missed both games with Loudon because I'd already been traded. I missed the first game with Phoenix against Charleston, so I've never played them. But they wouldn't be in the position they're in if they're not a good team. They had a strong regular season. Not a bit of their history. They didn't do too well last year, and to be in the position they're in shows they're a great team. Their coach has them pretty well drilled. They're a hardworking team, and they have quality players all over the field. I think it's a match where the season's been long now. We kind of know what they're going to do. They know what we're going to do. It's no secret how we try to play, and we know what they're trying to do. And they have some good players up top as well, and through the middle, solid at the back. We know they're a very hardworking team, but I'm sure they believe they can take advantage of some of our weaknesses or certain moments, and we believe the same. So I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think attacking wise, I think it's going to be pretty good attacking players on show. And it's going to be who wants it more at the end of the day. I know it's pretty cliche, but it's a final, and I'm hoping for a goal fest, but you never know.
So are we. True enough. Ever won a trophy?
No, they never won a professional trophy. It's been tough at the clubs I've been at, playing in the leagues I've played at, in Italy and Serie A, and in Belgium and stuff like that. It hasn't been easy. So my first chance at a bit of silverware, and looking forward to it.
What are you drinking out of it on Sunday night around 9:15?
I guess we'll have to see then.
Okay.
I'm not a big drinker, to be honest, so I can leave that to someone else.
All right, Dev, have fun with that, pal.
No worries.
Yep. Panos, appreciate the time. Again, congratulations on all the success, and you've been a really good piece to see integrate into that squad, and we'll see it again on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
If you missed any part of the interview with Panos, you can catch it tomorrow on the USL Championship YouTube page, or you can catch it as soon as we're done on the SiriusXM app. A look ahead to the game on Sunday when we come back. Welcome back to USL All Access on this Thursday night. It's a unique schedule this week, but essentially we're kicking off the championship's final weekend. We'll still have two more shows the next two Tuesdays with Devon, Mike, Rob Salvatore, the owner of the Battery, set to join us in a moment. First, Battery, 3 seed, Louisville, 5 seed, 9th straight conference final for Louisville City, but they get knocked off 2-1. Chef's kiss on Arturo Rodriguez, 5th minute, free kick, stunner, upper left corner. Augie Williams bags a penalty in the 58th. Kyle Adams gets one late after Carlos Mogel had been sent off. Dev, quick thoughts on the game.
Louisville were poor to start the game. They were very quiet. The Charleston Battery, the greatest thing about the Charleston Battery, Mike, is there's not one player that's going to beat you. They have plenty of stars that can go and get it done. So it's Augie Williams, it's Barajas, you've got Chris Allen pulling the strings in the midfield. You got a good goalkeeper and Trey Muse. Now they've got good balanced outside backs. And yet, of course, it's none of those, right? It's Markanik who comes off the wing, beats 3 separate players running right down through the heart of the Louisville midfield to knock them off. Louisville was bad for 30 minutes. Then they played very well from about their own goal to 70% of the field. Didn't really have a ton of ideas. And then they faded from the game again. And that was basically it. The second game, I don't want to call it the killer because Louisville found a little bit at the end, but this fully encapsulated what Louisville was this season. They were just right there, never really good enough, never really bad, made some mistakes. You could see the glimpses of what could have been, but they played the entirety of the game out on the wings. Louisville lost their midfield. They lost tempo, ended up losing the game.
You and I got a text from a coach that's been around the league for a long time that just said, what a brutal way to lose a conference final.
Yeah, it was bad. And
yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the best way you can say it. So it's not just our opinion. Everybody else was watching, and they saw the same thing we did.
Yep. So Charleston ends up winning it, and the new he took over in October 2019. He is the owner and chairman of the Charleston Battery. Rob Salvatore joins us. Rob, appreciate the time. What a wild time it is to be a Charleston Battery shareholder, stakeholder, fan, player, coach. Outstanding to have you on. Welcome back to USL All Access. We're closing in on, the final. It is Sunday, 7 Eastern on SiriusXM FC. Of course, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes. Miss any part of the show so far, it is on the USL Championship YouTube channel 24 hours after completion. You'll also catch it on the SiriusXM app. With Dev, Mike, going to be joined by Panos Armenakas in a moment, who was acquired June the 2nd from Loudoun by Phoenix Rising. Before we get there, Sacramento, number 1 seed remaining, number 1 in the West. They went all in on winning the whole thing this year, and they fall a goal short. They got the opening goal from Russell Cicerone in the 31st, Connor Donovan an own goal in the 80th, and then Emil Cuejo has been unreal late in games and does it again at 90+2. That's the winner. Dev, Western Conference Final.
Sac Republic lost for the first time this year and the first time since October of last year when they scored the goal first. So obviously they get out in front, they stay out in front. The game itself was actually quite boring. I had someone behind the scenes tell me, and I fully agree with this, that Sacramento Public, they played scared. And I would agree with that watching the game. They sat back a lot of times. They didn't want to be on the ball. They didn't threaten very much. I mean, to be fair, it's not like Phoenix was ground blazing going the other direction with a .95 XG between the two of them. But they were the better team. They had the ball more. They looked more dangerous. They deserved to win. It was that simple. The Phoenix team now, it's interesting because attacking-wise, they can go and get you goals, and they can do it over 50 passes. They are still the Phoenix of old down underneath, a little piece of them that has that ability. When things aren't going their way and push comes to shove, they can hit one on the counter and go and get a goal. They deserve to win.
Yep. Dev, we'll chat a little bit about the game that's yet to come, but first we welcome in Panos Armenakas. All he's ever done in his career is, be everywhere all at once. And also self-termed, but also many would agree one of the most talented in the championship. Panos, welcome to the show, and glad to have you aboard. Time to take it down the home stretch here on SiriusXM FC's channel 157. Missed any part of the show? Available tomorrow on the USL Championship YouTube page. Devon and I are headed to Charleston as we all anticipated. But before we get to a quick preview of the final, some San Diegan diaspora to talk about, and a few cases of the early bird getting the worm. Elijah Martin to El Paso. They also, I don't think, meant to announce just yet, but that Amando Moreno is going to El Paso as well. Koke Vegas is headed to Rhode Island. He was the first signing in club history And then they just announced to Hartford fans' genuine despair that they have added Connor McGlynn as well. It's that time of the year, Dev. Is there anyone you'd poach off the San Diego roster like tomorrow if you were a GM?
Yeah, I'd take Nate Miller.
Okay.
See what I did there?
What if you already have a coach?
That's not what you asked me. You asked me if I would poach someone off the roster.
He's not on the roster.
He's the first name at the bottom, and he signs the damn team sheet. He's on the roster. Next question, please.
All right. Well, for what it's worth, Damas is still on loan. That'd be intriguing. Charlie Adams, I think we've got a lot of time for. Colin Martin. Look, they've got there was not a guy on that roster that didn't belong in the championship, and I imagine that'll be borne out now. We've got a game. We've got the final. 3 seed of the East, Charleston. 6 seed of the West, Phoenix Rising. You'll see the game 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 Pacific, ESPN 2, ESPN Deportes. You'll hear it on SiriusXM FC. First final where both teams missed the playoffs the year before. Charleston hasn't been in the final since they won it in 12. They won league titles in predecessors to the modern era, 96, 03, 2010, 2012. Arizona United didn't do a whole hell of a lot, but Phoenix Rising has. 2018 lost the final. 2020, I've been describing this as being frozen at the cusp of winning a title, Dev. The 2020 final did not happen.
Stop it. Stop. I can't stand it when you behave this way.
Yeah, it did. Anywho, 2020
Bet you Lee Cohen said it did.
I know. But Dev, now the people can see it now.
What does the date say?
Yeah, all right. 2020. That's why it's unopened. They lost Drogba's final game to Louisville. That was a long time ago. These teams met March 11th. Andrew Booth off a set piece, 60th minute. Danny Trejo, direct ball through, sliced over by Gabby Torres, tap in 74th. 1-1 draw. Teams are completely different in a lot of ways. That was the first game for Ben Pierman. Phoenix has made a lot of changes, but it was sort of game 1 of Juan Guerra really getting what he wanted and constructing a roster. Dev, what do you make of the matchup that we got?
Go watch the game back on March 11th and then burn that tape because it means nothing. Truly. That's where we're at this point in time.
Yep. They
had Danny Trejo playing wingback in that game.
Those were the days.
Yeah, Danny Trejo was at wingback. Kev Lambert was on the back line. Cuejo was starting. It's a very different conversation. I think, to me, there are a couple of interesting things. Number one, if you go big picture here, Mike, no team in the modern era of USL Championship, which is 2011 till now, has ever won the title without being top 5 in either attacking or defending. Mm-hmm. Charleston's top 5 in neither. Now, I'm talking regular season numbers, to be clear. Charleston was top 5 in neither. Phoenix was top 5 in attacking. So you wonder if that has anything to do with it. I think the influence cannot be understated about what Bobby Dooley and Lee Cohen and what they've done and the influence that they've had on this league. Bobby Dooley with Phoenix Rising, Lee Cohen, the architect, next to Neil Collins at the Tampa Bay Rowdies, both Eastern Western Conference. Look, it's the battery. It's the roster turnover that we talked about. You're going to be without Fidel Barajas. There's a big missing piece, though. Mark Koenig did a really good job on the weekend. But chasing a Louisville team that likes to be on the ball centrally and that lacked width in general is very different than a team in Phoenix Rising that wants the ball all over the field in every which fashion that they can. There's an incredible amount of rotation. That concerns me for Charleston. I don't know, though, if it concerns me enough to be threatened by Phoenix. It does look kind of like a stalemate because Phoenix is really good about asking you a million different questions. Rotations all over the field. Do we want to play long? Do we want to play short? Fast, slow, strikes from distance. 100 shots a game, 5 shots a game. We win 5-0, we win 1-0. Charleston's just really efficient at what they do. Yep. And so there are two very contrasting styles here. I certainly wonder once again what the roles of Mark Sedbers and Derek Dotson are going to be in this game. I questioned it last game, how busy they were going to be. They said, you know what? We'll sit here. We'll keep the game in front of us. You come to us. We'll take the space in behind. They went and picked out their 2 moments. They got their goals, and they got out. I could see the game playing out this way. I could also see Phoenix with a high amount of pressure on the road, go get a goal early, and now Charleston's going to chase. Only two teams the two teams that had the highest scoring percentage in every game this season, the Charleston Battery and Sacramento Republic. Charleston Battery have scored the most. I think it's 30 out of 37 games. They're probably going to score in this game. Is one good enough to get it done against the Phoenix Rising powerhouse? I don't know.
All right, mailbag.
Mailbag. The question is, if Phoenix wins, would this be the most impressive or unexpected playoff run in league history? All 4 games in the row, beating the top 3 seeds in the conference on the way. This is from our guy, Pat Moses, a.k.a. Goalie Man Pat, on Twitter. Mike, what you got?
No. It might be most impressive. I don't have a problem with that. Unexpected, we sat here 2 months ago and said, here comes Phoenix.
Yeah.
They never should have been on the road in the first round anyways. They
Agreed.
Just duffed the end.
It's not unexpected whatsoever. We know the talent. We know the capability. Juan Guerra was making the playoffs with Cones in Oakland, with all due respect. Now he has actual parking meters that can move around and charge you a little bit of fines if you get in their way. So now you've got a real problem to deal with. It is still very impressive, though.
Yes.
It is still very impressive. And correct me if I'm wrong. If they won, isn't it the highest seed to ever win the USL Championship title?
I don't know.
Pretty sure.
I'll figure it out. Dev, learn anything?
I learned that you actually can come to an agreement over mayonnaise and coleslaw. We just have to separate them. Church
not
and
yet.
State.
I haven't agreed.
Church and state
have not agreed to nothing yet. But
Double
get back
negative.
to me in a few days. I learned Panos. You know, what a gentleman. I'm down with this guy. For Devon, Emmett, Mike, can't wait for the final. Sunday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, ESPN 2, Deportes, SiriusXM FC. Can't wait to talk to you then. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday here on SiriusXM FC's USL All Access. Enjoy the game, everybody.